Hello everyone, welcome to the JCast Network. I'm your host, Herman. We're here at the City Winery for the Jewish Week's Grand Wine Tasting. Pesach is upon us, and we're going to learn about some wines that we should have at our seder table. Let's take a closer look. Tell us a little bit about your wine.
Well, we're a boutique winery based out of Santa Barbara, California. We started by two brothers, the Weiss brothers, both Shimon and Gabe. We deal almost exclusively in Syrah blends. We have a number of them here at the table here today. The most popular of which is Power to the People. It's a debut. It's an 09 wine. It's a blend of 98% Syrah, 2% Vonier. The Syrah actually is interesting because it comes from two different vineyards, McKinley and Thompson, both based out of California, Santa Barbara. Excellent bottle. Numerous awards, most notably from Danny Rogov before he passed on, gave us a 90, which is pretty exclusive, pretty high. That seems to be the most popular, and just having a great time here at the show.
And you know, you were selected as the top wine. How does that feel?
It feels great. I wish I could say I had more part in this than I do. Unfortunately, like I said, it was the Weiss brothers who really are the brains behind this operation, and kudos to them. I'm going to pass that on.
And you know, what do you recommend, like the pairing of your wine during the seder table? You know,
seder table, absolutely. A lamb shank. I mean, it's Syrah. It's a dry red, so it goes very well with meat. We have one wine actually, which is the Counter Punch. It's a little more fruity. It's the Syrah as well as Grenache. I would recommend something. It would even go with fish. I mean, usually you generally drink white wine with fish, but that would go very well because it is dry as well as has that fruity flavor. So I mean, they're very versatile bottles.
So your company is a leader in wine, and one of the great things about wine is the pairing. It really brings out the taste. And Pesach is upon us. And tell us a little bit about your company and what wines do you recommend for Pesach?
Well, Yarden Inc. in the U.S. represents two wineries, the Golan Heights Winery. The best known label is Yarden. And the second is Galil Mountain Winery. What wines for Pesach? Well, it kind of depends on several things. Number one, obviously price points, because different people buy different levels of wine in terms of price point. But let's talk very briefly about a few wines. I'll start with some whites. They go very well with lighter dishes, fish usually. Also depending, I'm making a little bit of a generalization, but we have the Yarden Mount Herman white, which is it's a dry white wine, but it's a little fruity. It's very easy to drink, very drinkable. It goes well with a lot of foods. So almost any fish dish, unless it's exceptionally spicy or a very strong flavor, it would go very well with. Another wonderful wine is a label that is relatively new to the U.S., which is Gilgal. This is the Gilgal Chardonnay. Great food wine. Very pleasant wine to drink. Great food wine. And neither one of these are expensive. We have the Odem Chardonnay, which is an organically grown Chardonnay, which is very well known and very successful. Also a lovely wine and great for the seder. On reds, I'd recommend the following. Galil Mountain the Iron is always a favorite. Everyone knows it. Goes very well with different types of meat dishes, or with heavier. Thank you. Or with heavier pasta dishes, if you have them. The Yarden Mount Herman Red, which is a very affordable wine. It's a highly drinkable wine, very easy to drink, very pleasant, very reasonable, reasonably priced, and that is a wine that you can drink with a huge variety of foods. You can, from from pizza to meat to just about anything.
So my favorite food is meatballs.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
What do you recommend for meatballs?
Meatballs. Okay. Yarden Mount Herman, great with meatballs. Galil Mountain, Iran, great with meatballs. Gilgal Cabernet Sauvignon, also. These three, I think,
Right.
I would recommend for that.
And when you're looking at the different price ranges,
Mm-hmm.
it's critical to understand what's the difference and between the wines. Like what's the difference between
What defines the prices?
Exactly.
Or what influences
Yeah.
the prices? Several things. First of all, the quality of the grape, because the better quality the grape, the more expensive it is. I won't go in our case. I won't go into why it is, but in our case, that's the situation. So the better quality the grape, it'll usually go to the higher end wines, and it's more expensive cost wise. That's number one. Invariably, for any winery, if wines are aged, they will be more expensive, and that is because the aging process costs money. I'm sorry. The aging process costs money. It's you have to invest in barrels, in oak barrels. You have to invest in inventory, because aging means that you take the wine and you put it on the shelf, and the aged wines, some of them age for a year, 18 months, 24 months, and so you're holding on to inventory that's costing you money. So all these things come into play when you factor them in terms of cost.
liquor? Now, on Pesach, you're trying to find that little upper to make sure that you can make it through the seder. What do you have on tap?
So this year there's really an explosion of amazing spirits that are all kosher for Passover. Right now, some of the big hits happen to be a Kirschwasser and a Slivovitz from Oregon, all natural, kosher for Passover. The Jewish Week just wrote them up and gave them very high ratings. There's also an amazing Zeklawi sweet potato vodka that, while sounds a little bit strange, is absolutely delicious and would go well with even cranberry, whatever you want to mix it with. It's a superb vodka. There's also kosher for Passover gin, tequila, cognacs. So almost anything you want this year, other than scotch, is available in a kosher for Passover format.
And what's the price range on these things?
Everything from, the Zeklawi vodka is $28, which for a 750 milliliter bottle. The Slivovitzes, depending on the size, are about 42. And if you get the 375, they're about 26. So it really is ranging anywhere from in the mid-20s all the way up to the Cognac XO, which is $130.
And what's the difference in the quality? Obviously, in liquors, price range does make a difference. What's the difference with the liquors?
I think with liquors, it's absolutely how long it's aged. It's the care that's taken in the production process. It's the quantities that are actually produced. So whether it's a big quantity or a smaller quantity, whether the items are allocated or not, and then it's just demand.
So wine is transforming the way that we connect to our Judaism and the way that we enjoy food. And tell us a little bit about your company.
Well, I'd like to first start with where you ended, our Judaism. So the River is a distribution, kosher wine distribution company in the U.S. And one of the things that we'd like to do is really bring wineries that really didn't make heads here in the U.S. and to make sure that people, Jews in America, will really get to know good wineries. For example, one of them is Har Bracha. Har Bracha is Har Grizim, where we got the blessings from God, and it is a really small winery. 6,000 bottles right now, only Merlot and Cab, but they're growing and we're growing with them. Although the biggest winery right now that we are looking at is Gush Etzion. Gush Etzion has won many awards, including the Jewish Week, which listed them as best wines under 25, and got a couple above 25. The Blessed Valley was the best wine of Israel in 2010, so they're doing very well. The third winery that we're looking at is Kadesh Barnea from the Negev. Very special winery, how they grow grapes in the desert. And actually they're organic. They're going to have certification next year, and there's a lot to be talked about.
And what makes a good wine? We heard about the grape, but for you, what's the essence of the wine?
When people ask me that question, a lot of my friends, I live here in the Lower East Side, and people ask me that question, I said, the one that you enjoy the most. But when they said, all right, we heard that cliche before, but really teach us a little bit about that. I think the best thing to look for is a well-balanced wine.
Right, and what do you recommend? So, as I'm having a meat dinner with meat, potatoes, asparagus, what wine do you recommend?
So with meat, I would definitely recommend a very complex wine, right? So with cheese or with fish, you'd go something with white wine, or with red that is very smooth. For example, Kadesh Barnea, a very smooth red wines. They're not very complex. I would suggest having the Kadesh Barnea with cheese, very light red wine. I would even suggest cooling it before, which people say, oh, we don't cool red wine, only white wine. That is actually not true. I would suggest taking red wine, which is thin, like Pinot Noir and the Rosés and the Kadesh Barnea wines, and cool them before. With red meat, things like the Blessed Valley, which spend 24 months in oak barrel. So they're very oaky, very smoky, very heavy, a lot of tannin. That goes very well with red meat.
And when you're looking at the different price ranges, some people are like, well, what's the difference between that $10 bottle and that $150 bottle?
Awesome question. I love that question because personally, I got into the wine business just a couple of years ago. Before that, I was a consumer. What does that mean? It means that I can tell you what kind of wines I would buy. So any wine that is above $50 or $60 is not about the quality of wine anymore. It's about the label, marketing, which is great. But really, I think that most wines are placed well within their price range. For example, $20 wines are great wines to drink. $30 are usually great wines. There's something special about them. $40 and $50 wines are excellent. There's something in there that just does not exist in other wines. Above that, I can't really explain the prices. When I buy for Shabbos wine, I buy $25. For holidays, $30, $35, $40 wines.
And if there's one wine that you want to have on your seder table, what would it be?
Well, you're putting me in a really, awkward position. For my wines, by far, is the Blessed Valley. Emek Bracha is a phenomenal one to have. The Syrah is very different. Some people go crazy for that. Some people just, find it to be a little bit too dry. I really like the Castel. The Castel 2006 is a great wine to drink right now. It matured about this time, and I would really go for that. Again, we're talking about a $60 wines there. The Blessed Valley, I think, is in the same quality, and then you can buy it for $35, $37.
As you can see, there are some fantastic wines to enhance one's seder table. This is our own Herman, and thank you for watching.